In 2017, I met a small group of scientists who were preparing an expedition of an unusual kind to the most southern tip of the world, Antarctica. Their mission was funded by the Belgian government to commemorate the 120th anniversary since the first scientific expedition to the frozen continent. Defying the mockery of the science community, their journey from the most southern tip of Argentina across the turbulent Drake Passage to the Antarctic Peninsula would be carried out aboard a 23-meter sailboat. Small enough to reach entirely undocumented parts of the polar shore, the ship could just about host the scientists, 3 crew, and their gear. So after 2 years of training my new friends with the camera, I said goodbye to them and my precious equipment at the pier. The toughest steps are not those taken out of necessity, but those we choose to take in the name of change. This is a story of a team of rebel scientists operating against the convenience of airplanes and icebreakers, against their community's trust, and against the odds of the sea.
So Enrique apparently, I don't know if you heard, but the worst part should be tonight. Huh?
So it's actually a test of concept to try working on this small vessel, small research platform. There's several reasons. The first one is the agility of the ship. So it's much smaller. It can access areas which are inaccessible to other larger vessels. We can go in shallower areas. And the big advantage we have also, apart from agility, is the fact that we have complete control over the decisions about what we're doing with the ship. So the ship is ours, and we decide what we do with our time.
So our main objective is collect baseline data. Baseline data is really important because in order to measure any change, you have to have a baseline. So what we are doing here is we are collecting this kind of baseline data for the next generation of scientists to measure the impacts of global change and global warming on the area. We were a group of 9 scientists from 4 different European countries. From Italy, from France, Belgium and Germany. And each of us had a different area of expertise. First of all, there was myself and Henrik. We were mainly responsible for fishing. And then there was Henri. Henri looked at birds, but also at crustaceans. And then we had the diving team. The diving team consisted of 3 people, and they were investigating all the flora and fauna below the water. And finally, there was a team we called the Beach Boys, consisting of Camille and Kata, and they were doing research along the shore. So it's kind of a holistic research approach to an area of the Antarctic Peninsula that to date is almost completely undocumented.
For our campaign, we are going to dive in many locations where nobody ever dove before.
How did you get into the water?
Ready? Getting used to the temperature now.
It's going to be different because we don't have the whole facilities of a base where I was used to go, or a big ship like the Polar Stern or other research vessels. So I think it will be the most challenging trip I ever did.
In Antarctic, you always dive attached with a lifeline, because for instance, if that iceberg would start to move towards us, then we have to abort the dive, and then we have to have a way to tell the diver come up.
I study soft sediment and the organisms that live within the sediment. As the soil on Earth, the sediments in the ocean, they have a lot of exchange with the water column, so they're very important in the energy cycling or the cycling of the matter. The Antarctic is very big, so it's bigger than Russia, and so it's a very big piece of continent. It's a very important ecosystem in the whole system of the planet. It produces a lot of deep waters that are full of oxygen and full of nutrients that actually are spread around other parts of the globe. And it's very important in the whole circulation, let's say, blood system of the Earth.
And this is the layer.
This is my 5th time to Antarctica. I will never forget the first time I saw a penguin colony. I was helping the penguin guys at the time, and we were going to get some samples for us as well. And we were going up, getting to the top, and then a whole plane opened, and it was full of penguins, full. And I cried, like it was like a feeling I couldn't hold, because it was really impressive to be outnumbered so much by nature.
There are so many things happening in the ship simultaneously. It feels like a whole town, like crammed into 23 meters of ship. There's no space that's left unused and everything is movable. You could take the panel from the wall, off the floor, and there's storage space, electric fuses, pumps, the engine. It's like a living organism. And the icebergs that crush against the hull at night are its bow movements.
We are in the Melchior Islands, and so we are, for our part, focusing on the intertidal area, so the beach shore thing. So we have investigated the biodiversity on that area and doing some quadrants measurement and also just looking for the general diversity of the area. That's a freaking big sound. It's never stopping today. Okay, so
What just happened?
I just that break, but like this morning it's happening like every, I don't know, 10 minutes or something. And this morning we were so close to one of these stuff, so and I won't say we were scared, but yeah, we paid attention. So, but that one was supposed to be more stable, so let's trust it. But yeah. Well done, Camille. Little stress? Huh? Little stress or you will not?
You trust Camille in these things?
Yeah, definitely. He's our little MacGyver, huh? Yeah, he managed. Perfect. Well done, Camille. I think it's done now. Oh, so impressive.
We normally have a very simple rule, which is if you see the leopard seal nearby the place where you're going diving, you don't dive. If your diver is diving and you see a leopard seal in vicinity, you recall back your diver. And if you're diving and you see a leopard seal next to you, you just keep on looking at the leopard seal, you gather your things and you just go up. You abort the dive. Not because they're so extremely dangerous, but because they are very unpredictable. They're big, they can be 4 or 5 meters. They have no hands to touch you, so they might be chewing you a little bit to understand what you're doing, who you are, what is that.
I was killed this morning by a leopard seal.
It's an interesting feeling to realize like there's a lot of wildlife just out there. Every day you see something that's a lot stronger than you and just high up the food chain. That's an interesting feeling.
Only ate the
You realize you're not always as in control as you might think you are.
sternum. Left most of
feel coming?
Oh, sorry. What do you want?
How do you feel?
How do I feel? Pretty great. Just saw a leopard seal eating a penguin. It was quite impressive. That's all for today, Frans.
Tell me some more.
Some more about. Sorry, some more about what do you want to know?
Ship life.
Ship life. That's a very good question today. Thank you.
Maybe the food.
The food is great. Sometimes the pasta are a bit overcooked, but don't tell her. No, food is one of the most important things I think on ship because it bonds people together, and when you have good food, you have good mood usually. And so far it's been really great, and we're all eating quite a lot, and it's pretty enjoyable.
All right. So now I will open the trap, but we can see that many of the amphipods are still trying to get in, so they are attached to the mesh. So like the krill that has a central position in the food web in the Antarctic, amphipods are very important because they occupy many different niches in the ecosystem. So these ones are important for degrading all the dead matters. This is the head of a fish that we put in, and it's almost perfectly cleaned to the inside. And they have an extremely fine sense of detection for any carcass, so they can detect dead animal from hundreds of meters, maybe kilometers away, and just swarm in. Having to sacrifice living creature for science is never easy, no matter how big or small they are. I've been studying amphipods since the year 2000, and still we find new species unknown to science and to mankind. We have to know about their existence, where they live, what they eat, how they behave. Without this knowledge, there is no way to measure our impact on this planet. The more we know, the better we can protect.
Say anything, Katie?
I don't know really. I'm just sort of feeding everybody. Everybody seems super happy and hungry and busy, and I can't keep up with the cake and the dessert demands. As we're having Bruno's favourite dessert this evening, lemon tart. So I've got to make two, one with meringue and one with not, because otherwise Skipper Ben's going to be a bit upset we're not having a meringue. I've already had quite a few visitors popping in, heads looking to see what's going on. As you can see, there's a plethora of food.
What are you reading, Bruno?
15 mois en Antarctique. So this is the journal of the original Belgian expedition by Adrien de Geras.
I've had this book for a long time, and I kept it to read it here. So I'm discovering it. It's really good.
How do you feel? Do you feel connected?
Well, actually more and more when I read it, yeah. Mm.
I think there's not a lot of people internationally or even in Belgium who are aware that the first purely scientific expedition to Antarctica was actually led by Belgium.
Well, the Belgica expedition was led by Adrien de Gerlache 120 years ago. They got trapped actually in the ice and had to overwinter in the area, and they drifted quite a long way along the Antarctic Peninsula until finally spring arrived and they got released. It was a very successful scientific expedition actually. They had very good scientists on board and they collected a huge amount of samples. There's a huge amount of literature that has been published afterwards on this mission. It must have been an incredible time for these people because technology was not there. They were pretty much the first one to discover these areas, so there was so much more unknown that we have at this moment. When you look at the composition of the Belgica team, they were all selected very carefully and very interestingly. And it's not surprising that Amundsen was there too. He was only 24 at the time, and a few years later he was the first to reach the South Pole. Taking the same route along the Gerlache Strait as they took in 1898 made me think a lot about them while being on this mission. How did they feel when they realized they would spend the winter there? And how did they pass their time?
The specificity here, apparently, compared to Melchior, is that there's going to be tourists arriving at 5 a.m. Is that? Can we ask them to be silent? Not to wake us up. But they're mainly going to bother the intertidal guys, I suppose, because they're going to go on the beach, do a few bump slides, and then come back.
Many people are doing
500.
500?
100 at a time.
Less than 500.
Okay.
So it's a kind of a different mindset.
Please, horror quadrant, please, no!
If you're busy.
If when tourists step on your quadrant, do you sample it?
Yeah, you have to take this.
No, it's like...
So do we have a vial large enough for a tourist?
Muscle tissue.
Which one is liters the better?
Chop a bit off one.
Yeah, there you go.
Do we know the time of the tourist or not yet?
Tourist tide.
Give us a time.
We wake up, no one is there, and then suddenly this tour operator voice gives a rundown for the day, and it's like, good morning! And it's really, and you just hear it over the water, and you feel a bit like, oh, did we just sign up for Disneyland, or what, like, what is this?
I was surprised actually to see that all the tourism activity was very well organized and there's a lot of rules that they have to follow and they have a lot of guides that go first on the colony. They set up a path with little markers and people who go there are only allowed to follow this little path.
On one side you have the penguins just like walking and like doing their thing, and then on the other side you have the humans also just like walking and taking photos, and it's really it's a funny picture because I mean it does feel a bit like a zoo, just the other way around.
I have sort of mixed feelings about this. There's a lot of good communication between the tour operators and the scientific communities, but still the amount of people that came means there's an impact it's impossible to avoid.
Microplastics, even from our clothes, fly away, go in the water. I mean, it gets into the environment, and the more people you have there, the more impact you will have.
There were 70,000 tourists going to Antarctica this year, which is quite a lot, yeah.
We caught one big ice fish of the family Canictidae. Now the fish you see has a huge head. So it's that's why they're called dragon ice fishes sometimes. And the gills, this here, are white. In all other fish, except for fish in Antarctica, they will be red because of the hemoglobin that binds to oxygen. These fish, they don't need hemoglobin. The water here is so cold, so oxygenated, that they get enough oxygen just through their skin. So this is the heart of an ice fish. Pretty, you see it's still pumping. It's pretty big. And also it's brown, yellowish, not red, like this one. This is the heart of a red-blooded ice fish, of a red-blooded Nototheniae species. So that has hemoglobin, that's why it's so red, and this one is from the Canictidae without hemoglobin. That's why it's just yellow, brownish. So now we're gonna cut open the belly. We see right away that this fish was suffering a lot. Well, it may have not felt it, but it has a lot of parasites. All these are nematode worms that are inside or atop of the liver. So these fish are very specially adapted to live in cold habitats. But now, if the water warms a lot, it may be that they are not fit to live under these circumstances.
What makes the polar region so fragile and so particularly sensitive to climate change is that all of these animals are extremely adapted to this particular environment. The slightest change will shift their comfort zone to a zone where it's not going to be possible for them to survive. So from there, they will have different strategy. Either they can cope with it, which is quite rare usually when you are very much adapted to your environment, or you can migrate, but then you go somewhere else where other species exist already, so there will be competition, or you just die.
Bruno, where are we heading?
We're heading to Mechnikov Point, so there's a commemorative plaque there that was set by a Belgian expedition in the 80s. So we're gonna check if it's still there, if it's still in good shape, and take a few pictures for documentation.
We went there on request of the Belgian government to actually look at the conditions of a plate, which purpose was to commemorate the ventures of Adrien de Gerlache.
It's just rocks, 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 ice, rocks. And where is a monument around here? So we were all looking with the binocular, hoping to find it.
We said, okay, the penguins are going up there. Maybe we can go up the same way, because if penguins do it, we can do it. Not exactly the same. We arrived at the plate, which was in very good conditions, actually.
It's serious.
I can't.
But yeah, what eventually we were surprised to find was this abandoned camping site.
So we are at at the commemorative plate to celebrate the gel ash. I don't know what to say, fuck it. There's some cans of food still in there.
There was a lot of plastic bags, plastic vials, syringes, plastic in many different forms.
There was a lot of lipsticks, survival matches.
A couple of thermometers like full of mercury that was still used at the time, and the rubbish is pretty much spread over maybe 100 meters square.
It's very difficult to land there, so nobody could have reported this. These kind of places are not really visited by anybody unless you go with a purpose. This time the government asked us to go, so we went.
These are probably remains from a camp from an expedition in the 1980s. In hindsight, I think it appears that this has probably been left behind because they had to abandon their camp during bad weather conditions. They were stationed there for 2-3 years even or so, and then at some point they had to leave and never came back.
What does it say?
It says custard powder. Might be British, huh?
Keep the bags not too full, not too heavy.
I just thought, it's us. That's what we do everywhere, you know? Of course the Antarctic is special and it has to be kept pristine, but somehow what's the difference from beautiful place in Antarctica and any other place on this planet? Everything was as beautiful as Antarctica before.
Barely anything is untouched from human pollution and exploitation. And Antarctica is no exception. And not only with this example, wherever you put a trawl in the water for scientific purposes, you catch plastic.
So we cleaned up a little bit, but there's so much it would take a couple of days to clean up that we won't have time to do. But hopefully we can raise a little bit of awareness about who did that, because and maybe they can come and clean it up, and that would be great.
The only place, well, in Bulls Bay is off the list, the only places here that I know that no one else goes to. I've never even seen anyone at Green Reef, not another single boat, ever. I'm the only one that I know that's ever gone in there.
Okay.
But there are a lot of boats that go up and down there. There are a lot of boats that go up and down that New Channel.
I've been traveling to Antarctica since 1997. Yeah, it was my first trip, and I've been hooked ever since. It's the place I feel most comfortable in the world, not where I was born or where I grew up or where I live now, my home now, but it's here is where I feel most comfortable on Earth. For me, it's definitely a highlight of my career, even out of, without question. This voyage was a seed that was planted 4 or 5 years ago. I feel like it's a barrow that I've been pushing within the Antarctic science community for a long time, because I could see this. I could see this vision of exactly this happening, and now it is happening. So it's like a dream come true for me. People say to me all the time, once you've seen it, why do you keep going back to Antarctica? Isn't it just all, snow and penguins? And it's like, well, of course it's not. And once you look deeper, once you start to spend time there, months after months after months, you start to see colours change, you start to see the reds, you start to see the copper in the mountains. You keep putting up with bad weather and being away from family and friends and loved ones to do that, to experience that.
How's it going?
Good. A bit frustrated that we didn't catch any fish. Been trying a lot today, but I don't know. Fish seem not to be here. Maybe in the gill net we still have that out. We're gonna pull it in after dinner, I think. Then we see. Onions.
Onions?
Right up to the left. Plates.
Thank you. Merci. Grazie.
My Yorkshire pudding
Danke.
didn't work very well.
We managed.
Gracias.
Shake your head again.
He's anal about his
Can you
hair.
not see that?
It's got like a
Hydrodynamics.
cue ball shine to the top of it.
So I can make sure that the boat travels as fast as possible
Wait,
at
hang
all
on.
times.
Did you do your sideburns as well? And a little ooh, ooh, ooh. You got levels.
I'm not meant to have another one. I can't see what I'm doing in the steam.
Ça suffit.
Knees, eyes, throat.
Small butt, I can fit. Does everyone have everything they require? Water.
Some red water.
Some red water. You want me? I can get you some red water.
Right now it's a bit difficult. I think it's getting too dark, so the fish also have difficulties finding our lure. Maybe the ones with bait, if we give it some time, we will see.
So this morning at 6, we have been woken up by an iceberg that actually bumped into the boat. So what happens here is that we are just anchored in front of a glacier, and this glacier is very active. So what happens is that at night it breaks off because of often as well the, let's say, relatively warm temperatures during the day, and cracks form where the water goes through, and then in the night it freezes and it expands, and therefore it generates a break in the ice. And so in the morning we actually have a lot of accumulation of ice over there, which then, because of the tide, therefore the low tide is going to bring it towards the outside, it actually moves along the boat. So this morning we have 2 dives planned and 1 in the afternoon. I will have to evaluate the safety now for the diving of this morning, and we might have to wait for the ice to actually leave our surroundings. And yeah, that was one.
-1, something, or a bit less maybe. I am doing models. The main aim is to produce relevant species distribution models and physiological models applied on benthic species like sea urchins, sea stars, and so on. In different areas, species can have different metabolisms, and with climate change, it can change as well. Before producing models to predict in the future, we need to produce a good model for present, and you can see if the species will die because she has not enough resources to live, or if the temperature is too high or too little.
I always had the dream to actually go and dive in Antarctica, and I dove. And then I saw this amazing biodiversity. It's fantasy, you know? I think we are waking up to this call, and I know that we are waking up. The thing is that you may wake up and still be too sleepy to make it on time to work, or you may wake up and figure out that you need to jump out of the bed and start running to get on time to work. So that's what I think it's the moment of our species now. We are waking up, but now we need to stand up and start running, because yeah, the planet is giving a lot of signs that we need to take care of it if we want to survive the way we are hoping to thrive.
Antarctica is conceived as this very remote place, and in geographical terms, it is remote. It's very challenging, even dangerous, to do research here. But we do need to keep in mind that our actions at home affect what happens here. And eventually, these consequences come back around.
No. That was swift.
What are we doing, Bruno?
Cleaning, getting ready for Drake, backupping everything.
Francesca?
To do. Everything's done?
No. Boots and jackets away? No.
Is there space in the freezer?
In this one?
Just for one of these two. Yeah.
Yeah, should fit.
Physical samples that we have in our freezer is a little bit under 2,000 and much more if you count all the other observations we made on top of those, like observing the birds, whales, all the things we could not actually physically sample. Our expedition was quite short, it was like 22 days effective in the field, and this certainly is comparable to what other expeditions with large vessels are bringing back in terms of efficiency.
For those places that we surveyed, we have a good idea of what is really there, and that can be compared in the future. And I think that's the biggest and the most important result that we can bring to the scientific world and to the human communities for conservation.
How does a story end that is told at the point of departure? At the start of friendship, the beginning of a race, the first step towards a shift in approach. The end of this journey is just the beginning of another, a much harder and much longer one. I'm glad to have met this group of scientists who can lead the way. Now what's left to do is to get up and run with them.
Thank you.